Hi, folks. This is Anthony again. Happy New Year to everyone using the Gregorian calendar. A few days ago, I posted a video stating that I was going to stop discussing the Aaron Smith-Levin Aftermath Foundation case unless something new came up about it. I stated that I believed that I'd covered and analyzed everything in my many videos that had been made public by both sides, and there was no longer any reason to keep on talking about that situation. And again, if something new comes up about it, which I doubt, I may discuss it, and I certainly will discuss other topics concerning Scientology because those are very interesting. And in fact, I did a poll, and as you can see by now, a fair number of people have voted, and people are still interested in Scientology, but not necessarily this particular case. And as a reminder for everybody, I pointed out in every video that I personally like everybody involved. I like Aaron and watch his stuff, although sometimes it's hard to keep up because he creates so much content. And I like people on the other side, Mike Rinder and Mark and Claire Headley. And I know that for some people, those individuals can be lightning rods, and I think in the case of Mike Rinder, rightfully so. When he was the public face of Scientology, he was a jerk. And I'm using that word because it's pretty mild. I think that most of us could agree that a stronger word could be used. And I think that he would agree, and I personally think that he's trying to right the wrongs of his past by his work with the Aftermath Foundation and other organizations that he's on. But one of the things I realized is that after a while, all of the people that had positive comments to say had pretty much said them, and the remaining people that were commenting seemed to have some type of agenda. And quite frankly, I think a few of them probably were OSA. They said very, very similar things in their messages. Things about how Mike Rinder should be prosecuted for his past crimes. Interesting, who would benefit most from Mike Rinder possibly being prosecuted or at least investigated for so-called past crimes? Certainly that would be a win for David Miscavige and his church if Mike Rinder was prosecuted. At least they probably think it would be, but we all know that lawsuits can sometimes backfire. But let's think about this for a moment. If Mike Rinder committed crimes, most crimes in the United States have a statute of limitations. Murder does not. I believe that kidnapping does not. Was he ever involved in kidnapping? It could be. There were situations where he ordered somebody moved, and that might be argued to be kidnapping. But that's a hard one to prove because they could just argue that people were free to say no and leave, walk out the door. But anything else which the government might think was a crime that he might have done probably has passed its statute of limitations. So he couldn't be prosecuted for it. And he's mentioned many times that he and Mark and other people have cooperated multiple times with law enforcement and the FBI on various things behind the scenes, so it's unlikely that they would prosecute him anyway, just because they would need his help if they ever prosecuted the Church of Scientology. And again, I'm not even suggesting that he's committed actual crimes. Was he a jerk? Yes. But being a jerk, yelling at people, those are not necessarily crimes or crimes that would be prosecuted. And often when people bring up Mike Rinder, they bring up Claire and Mark. What crimes in Scientology did Claire and Mark ever commit? I could see Claire writing up knowledge reports on people. Maybe that got people into trouble, but I've never heard of anything else that she's done to anyone else. And Mark doesn't seem like he would hurt a fly. I don't think that in his position he had any opportunity to hurt anybody or commit any crimes. Perhaps his only crime is licking crackers. And so in my previous message, I pointed out somebody who seemed to be, because of his many messages, that they seemed to go along these lines, that he was likely OSA. And another person whom I've received many messages from is Walter Gold. I'm not quite sure what Walter's problem is, because I think he and I probably agree on a lot of things if he really is a Scientology critic. But then again, maybe he's just a sloppy OSA agent. He writes, Anthony, do you seriously consider OSA is watching and commenting on a pissmire channel like yours? Or are you taking your cues from Andrew Gold, who despite his own clickbaiting probably does have something to worry about? So do I think that I'm important enough in the anti-Scientology world for OSA to be worried about? Not really, and not at all until I realized, analyzing certain messages that I started getting from people that really seemed to be the type of message that convey the agenda of what the Church of Scientology would want, rather than just the thoughts of the casual viewers to anti-Scientology YouTube videos such as the ones I've done. Again, these were a line of very similar messages from various people that had very similar content, and I've already discussed what some of that is. So, as somebody who has a monetized YouTube channel that's looking at the situation and making videos that not only critique what happened to both parties in the Aaron Smith-Levin Aftermath Foundation situation, but also one that is critical of David Miscavige, could I be on OSA's radar? Possibly. Why not? As you can see here, I've gotten 73,000 views. Basically, all of those were from when I started about 6 weeks ago looking at the anti-Scientology world. And I think if you've watched anything from the parties involved, when they talk about Scientology, everything has to do with statistics. And every week you need to exceed the previous week's statistics, whether it's the number of books that you've sold or the number of hours of auditing that you've provided. So over time, one could argue that logically it may be that OSA has to, on a weekly basis, increase the number of YouTube channels that they monitor, or the videos that they monitor, or individual YouTube creators that they monitor. That seems like it would be a reasonable explanation, and therefore, even though I'm not really a player on the scene, it would seem to me that OSA could start following my channel and commenting just so that they could justify getting their numbers up. Or maybe Mr. Gold is just jealous that I have 1,400 subscribers and am monetized. Well, he in his account since 2018, he has a total of 16 subscribers with 29 videos and a total of 5,036 views, which is what I get in a week. But my friend, this is not a contest. Don't measure your lack of success against my own success here. That will just depress you. Here he writes a comment to someone else's comment, and the name of that person is Melon. And the context of the comment is about Aaron Smith-Levin accidentally sharing his screen for a fraction of a second that had Reese's contact information, which allowed the Church of Scientology to find out that the person, now called Relatable Reese, had been in contact secretly with Aaron. Walter Gold writes, Melon, this is a very good point on an issue which nobody, including the, quote, prominent Scientology critic Anthony R.R. Mills, has talked much, if all. I recommend you visit, albeit with a healthy dose of skepticism, Scientology's official page about A. Ron Hubbard. He has a sketchy history of using espionage to gain his various ends. Okay, here Walter agrees that I'm a prominent Scientology critic, and it says that nobody, including myself, has talked about the situation where Reese was doxxed by Aaron. But his comments follow me discussing the whole situation in a comment to the original poster. I assume that he didn't see that link to the post by me, otherwise he probably wouldn't have bothered writing, although maybe he would just because he feels like being a troll to me. And as I've pointed out, Aaron, as a board member of the Aftermath Foundation at the time, needed to be extremely careful and not accidentally exposing people who were reaching out in secret to himself or to the foundation looking to get out of Scientology. And unfortunately, that's what happened with Reese. But Reese was a public, not a Sea Org member, and it appears that for the most part, things have turned out well in that situation, and thank goodness for that. And I think many of us could imagine that if it was a Sea Org member who is living at Flag and they were found to secretly be in contact with Aaron, who knows what could have happened to them? What type of alternative to the hole that may exist now might they have ended up in? Or what foreign country might they have been sent to just to prevent them from leaving the Sea Org in the United States? So I think that that is a very valid concern. And if that's the only thing that Aaron had done while he was on the Aftermath Foundation, that would still be something that the other board members might look at and question whether he should remain on the board. But obviously, it was an honest mistake. Quite frankly, it's something that any of us could have done, and I think for most of us who have been using email and other things on the internet for 20 or 25 years, there's probably at least one message that was sent by mistake or some other mistake that we've made that we regret. Is that incident something that should be continually discussed in an analysis series like the one I did? I don't think so. Aaron did not make the mistake after a night of heavy drinking. Aaron has freely admitted on many occasions without reservation, without splitting hairs, what he did concerning accidentally outing Reese. So why should I or anyone else discuss that incident any more than what Aaron has already stated about it? I personally don't think that it's something that needs to be discussed. It's a fact. It's not a part of a series of escalating bad behavior. Aaron's mentioned it many times. To me, end of story. If other people want to discuss it, they can. If Walter Gold thinks that it's the most important thing in the ex-Scientology world that needs to be discussed, then he can make videos on his YouTube channel with his 16 subscribers. And as I read his comments over and over again, I am honestly starting to wonder if Mr. Gold is not a Scientologist. That certainly makes a lot of sense. He seems like a wannabe celebrity who probably got recruited in the Celebrity Center where he was promised that his music career would take off if he joined Scientology. And that's what he did, and he's just bitter that he's not achieved the success that he was promised. I think when anyone who's not a Scientologist suggests that people go to a Scientology hate site to read up on Aaron, even with the admonition to have a healthy dose of skepticism, that still seems like something a Scientologist would say. And I'm not quite sure if Mr. Gold was trying to be funny by calling Aaron Smith-Levin a Ron Hubbard, or if that was just a Freudian slip because Mr. Gold is a devoted follower of L. Ron Hubbard. I mean, don't take my word for it. Just read what's up on the screen a couple times and ask yourself, what is this guy's real agenda? Maybe somebody should ask Mitch Brisker or Mark Headley if they're aware of Mr. Gold and his minor composing career to see if he's done anything with Scientology on a formal basis. Okay, I think that's all I want to say for today. Again, the reason I'm moving away from the Aaron Smith-Levin Aftermath Foundation videos is there's nothing more that needs to be said in my mind by me about it. And it's just attracting trolls and other toxic people. I'm a positive person and I want other people to have positive lives. I don't mind comments from people that are critical of my analysis if there's logic and reasoning behind them. If I make a factual mistake, I don't mind being corrected or shown other evidence which might tend to disprove my argument. And I don't censor what people say. I haven't removed anybody's comments and I don't turn off the comment section on my videos, unlike Mr. Gold, who has the comments turned off on most of his videos, as you can see. I'm not quite sure why you'd want to turn off other people's comments unless they're complaining that your music all sounds exactly alike, but that's for Mr. Gold to deal with. As we're about to start a new year, let's all try to be more positive. If you watch a video or you read somebody's stupid comment, before you get angry and just spew, take a step back for a moment. Ask yourself, will my comments lead to anybody thinking about the topic in a more accurate, more enlightened way? If I put my thoughts down, will it move the needle of human progress at all, or just rile up people and get their blood pressure up? Let's all continue working on trying to be better human beings as we go into the new year. Happy New Year, everyone, and we'll talk soon.